What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Download Queue, episode 59, your new favorite place for all things gaming, all things wrestling sometimes, all things food sometimes. We just got done doing a food podcast before the show. Things are good. We're in March now, Kyle, already. We are 3 months into the year. Where's the time gone? How have you been?
That's crazy. It's gone to gaming and wrestling and taking care of a child for me. That's where it's gone. And just looking at the news, that's all I want to talk about it. But oh boy, it's getting hard not to just keep updated, right? Crazy stuff going on. Wrestling Elimination Chamber happened. Such a nice time. Crazy PLE, excellent PLE, and something that a lot of people didn't think. John Cena turning heel, not only turning heel, but joining The Rock, which the writing was all there. If they were having him win, that's the only way he could have won, is if he turned heel. So shocked they actually pulled it off. Happy they had the balls to do that. I know you wanted to give props to one of
the final boss,
worst parts.
One
of the worst parts.
the leader of this whole circus. He tells you what to enjoy, what to watch. The Rock, Kyle, come on. Comes out with Travis Scott for no reason whatsoever, besides to ruin every shot he is in. Why?
Travis Scott is going to be wrestling by the end of 2025. He will be in a ring. Man, get him in a match with him and Benny Blanco. Not Benny Blanco.
Bad Bunny.
Thank you. In my head I said Bad Bunny, and then my mouth said Benny Blanco. BBs. What can you do? That's their fault. No, I think Travis Scott will be in the ring. It was weird. He definitely slapped the shit out of Cody. Oh my gosh. That he actually hit him, which is, hell yeah, Cody, take it. Fun time. So excited to see where this goes. It's definitely, I think, shut up a lot of people who were complaining about this buildup. There was something to get to, and hey, you land the plane, you did it. Choppy journey here so far, but man, pro wrestling's fun. Such a great time. Can't wait for WrestleMania 41. Also, Jade Cargill coming back, kicking the shit out of Naomi. There it is. That's all we wanted. I knew it.
It was so nice. Now that not to say I've given up on WWE. I haven't, but I don't keep up with it as much, and not being in the weeds as much as I was. The John Cena thing caught me by surprise. I was like jaw on the floor. I was not expecting that. I was like, it felt like I was getting into it again for the first time. Like, this is what I wanted to happen. Not what I wanted to happen. Like, that sort of surprise and shock. Just done perfectly. And the son of a bitch, if you said Twitter last night, I wish I could pull up exact times. Oh, again, 8:24 p.m. Watching John Cena get excited about everything happening in the background is something, man. He's all about the business and lives for what he does. 3 minutes later, I take back what I said. Just the emotional turn of events that happened.
Yeah. No, as soon as Cody, says go fuck yourself, Rock, like, on not even bleeping it. Hell yeah, WWE, like, let that go. You wanted that. He's like clapping and acting all giddy, and I was like, oh man, they're not gonna do it, right? Like, something's up with Cena. He's way too excited. These two people are supposed to fight each other, and he's excited that Cody's made this choice. Yeah, he was, because he's excited. He knows all right, it's time to go beat up Cody. We're doing it. We're coming out right now. That's what he was giddy for. So fun stuff. They knew what they were doing, obviously. Obviously, they had some plan, and I think this was the right call with someone like Cena, It was there all along. The Rock pointing up the 3 at flipping it around, or now he had held up 2. So
what's next?
1 down. Who's the next 2?
We have the 1.
I know. It's
good. I need to send it to you. Before I came downstairs, so I saw a video on Twitter someone posted. They were behind CM Punk's pod in the crowd, and his light bar inside of his pod kept falling down. So they just like recording him, and the crowd was cheering as CM Punk was like trying to fix this light nonstop throughout the entire entrance. It's like perfect.
That's so funny. Yeah, I forgot someone got thrown into it and it fell off, but yeah, great match, great time, great stuff. I'm been watching it a week, but now I'm even more excited to keep up with it now. Fully on the road to WrestleMania. Cena is going to be there tomorrow, most likely. We got to start getting some more info about all this. We're here, wrestling. on the road to Vegas. Can't wait.
It's good. It's a good time. It's a
Can't
good
wait to see
time.
who Max Crosby, defensive end for the Raiders, punches, because he was at a UFC event and was talking to Seth Rollins because PKO, UFC, WWE, all the same company. But yeah, they were talking, and Crosby was like, "Oh, we'll see. I might have to come out and see you guys." So I just want to see him. I don't know. He's probably going to team up with Logan Paul. God damn it! All right, we can move on.
Oh, he doesn't need a team. They do the Jason Kelsey thing
They're-
they did last year. We just have him come out of the crowd and like mess up a match or something.
But he's not gonna. He's friends with Logan Paul.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I was like, okay, cool, whatever. We can. I don't care as much anymore. That's probably what's likely, and it makes sense to have Logan with a sports team. That's
Fair.
our wrestling segment.
As mentioned, this is the download queue. We are sometimes a video game podcast, sometimes a wrestling podcast. We just like to enjoy things and have fun, you know? This week, coming at you, episode 59. We got some news to catch up on. We got some game
more.
demos from Kyle to catch up on, because I'm excited to hear about these. And I want to talk about Avowed. Before we start, I want to start with that. Have you beaten / rolled credits yet? You said last week you're going to be on second playthrough.
Yeah, unfortunately, just time. Some other stuff came up. I got pulled away, so didn't get as much time. I'm fully in the third region, and I feel like I'm a good. I think I'm at the close to the end of that region, so that's where I'm at. I'm like at 26 hours overall in this game, so good time. Good time.
Okay, good.
How much have you put in? I
Probably in
saw
the same
you
spot.
were- Okay.
Also in the third region. It's usually you can like kind of tell like, oh, this is leading up to the end of this chapter, leading up to the end of the region in most games. This one, it just kind of like comes at me out of nowhere. Like I'm like, okay, next main quest, and we're moving on. So it's hard to even like predict where I'm at. I think roughly too, I'm probably if 20-ish hours. I left my console on and it counted a bunch of times, so randomly I came back and I was at like 29, which I know I'm not. So figuring out that. I'm still having a blast. I'm absolutely adoring this game. I could live in this world they've created, the lush environments. So much of this game, if I was a screenshot person, this would be nonstop. The end of the second region, when you come out of a cave and you see the city, that's all I'm going to say without spoilers. That could be a painting in my house. Like that whole scenery and just how the colors looked, beautiful. Hats off to Obsidian. Gorgeous time.
Yeah, I agree. This game, very, very good. I mean, I talked about it last week when we first did stuff about it. The way they're using nanites and Unreal 5 is just allowing the world to feel more full. Sorry, I had my throat. Yeah, I agree. Still is fun. Having a great time with it. I've just locked in on today. Played about an hour today. I locked on a Sword and Shield. Gonna stick with that, but I'm also gonna, since I'm so spec'd into Ranger, I'm just gonna put. I had like 3 points that I had 4 points in other trees and magic and 1 in fighter to help my shield stuff. I'm gonna put those. I put those all into having a bow or a gun, upping that damage for it. So I'm just gonna lean into being a ranger, stick with the sword. I'm not moving off of it. The sword that lights people on fire and heals you for 10% because I upgraded that through enchanting. So that's like my biggest critique, I think, is the gear system, because I see screenshots of people playing it, and guess what sword they have equipped? That same fire sword. So, not that other people's experience is hurting that for me. Like, oh, they have the same sword as me, I don't feel special. That's not what I'm getting at. It's more of, so this is a designed option. So me as a fighter character, I don't have to spec into magic or use a companion with fire, right? I have a sword. Cool. And that's why I have kept it, because I didn't have a magic thing that had fire. I wasn't specking into that. So I feel more of like, oh, we have to give people an option, because we have to have these secrets around the world that are blocked off by the vines that can only be cut down through fire or a grenade. So I just feel like there's limited options to solve those problems. But again, I think that just comes down to scope, and I don't think that's a I don't think that could be a negative against them because they went in with that intention of scope. This is a smaller scope title, so that's where I'm at right now. I'm kind of like, all right, we'll see where that goes, but I'm kind of feeling a little not bored with the playthrough, with the gameplay, with the stuff I'm using, but more of like I feel like I would change my whole specs, my whole gear to use a different side and to not rely on this sword. So that's just where I'm at right now. That's kind of a midpoint for the game so far. But other than that, I do agree a lot with what you already said. This is a great game, fun to be in the environment. The story really has me. The ancient memory stuff, I'm like, what is going on? And I kind of am feeling, all right, I kind of see where this might be going. Probably can see what choice is about to happen in this game towards the end. I can't figure out which way I'm going to go. I'm definitely going back and forth at times, helping my empire at times, but definitely not because, hey, you're being a dick about it. Stop. I'm not going to help you blow up people. Stop. Like, that's wrong, you know? But, oh man, I just betrayed my empire? No, they weren't doing what I think it should be because I don't also have that much background for what the empire is. You know, it's up to you as a player, which is a positive there. So
I was
yeah,
like,
that's
I've
my
gone full rogue.
long-winded ramble.
Yeah, I've gone full rogue on mine. Screw where I came from. All you guys are assholes. I'm helping these people. Like, I'm all in on it. Yeah, the gear thing still. I mentioned that last week as one of my bigger things. And since playing then, I almost wonder what this would have looked like. Obviously, some things would need to stay the same for lore reasons, but if the unique gear and stuff was kind of randomly dropped generated, so it's not set places every time to give people that opportunity to build out differently. Because a lot of it is like the picture scrolls, whatever you get, that like lead you to a map, the treasure maps, or like just random caves have that stuff in them. But by then, like, yeah, I'm still using that same sword too. I have it, I think, +3 purple quality right now. I've upgraded it to, so now it's literally like, no matter what I got, it's not going to reach those levels. I had one at the end of the second area. Um, I turned on a group, fought their captain. She dropped one-handed sword. I was like, this is almost enough to make me switch, but end of the day, I still don't have a reason to. Um, I did switch up. I've you gotten all 4 party members now at this point. Then, if you're deep into the
Yeah.
third region, I wish pacing of that was a little better because the last 2 came at you very fast, and I didn't feel like I had quite as much time with the third one before getting the fourth one right away. So I was forcing myself to kind of switch out my party to accommodate new people in and try and get to know them or whatever. But so having a blast. I also found out. I don't know if you've seen. Check out some of the achievements for this game if you have not, because they are named after a bunch of them are named after old Obsidian titles that I found was a joy. I had Pentiment come up as like my Xbox idle thing, and it brings up the side pages or whatever. It's like Pentiment, and then there was a grounded one. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, I got the grounded one that popped, and I was like, "What the heck?" And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! They're naming achievements after some titles. That's cool."
Still good. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm hopefully middle of the week. I want to have this done, mostly for time reasons. For other stuff, we have Split Fiction coming out. I have 2 Point Museum coming out. Like, it feels bad to rush through this stuff, but I feel like I've gotten what I wanted to out of this so far.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, honestly, like I feel like this is just the pace of the game on it, you know, and I definitely feel closer to the end than not. And we'll see what after this region closes up, what the next little zone is and what that fully is. If it's like similar, I haven't seen much about it, but I don't think the point of return comes right at the end of this third zone. So we'll see, but maybe it is. I'm not sure. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to beat it so we can kind of compare and see. Because yeah, there's a lot. There's been a couple times I've been like, shoot, like I don't know what to do. Like we need to talk more, but you're only giving me 2 options. And I think that's one thing. Like if the game had more time narratively, they probably could flesh out some of those companion things. It's just like with the companions, I'm taking exactly what they're telling me, right? Oh, you're here now because you're helping me. Cool, that makes sense. Like, and that's how I'm going to get to know you. And if I choose to get to know you, we become friends maybe, but definitely is the companions are not grabbing me as much. I'm merely keeping them around for what abilities I want to use and not because of their personality.
That I found out today too. A lot of that feels like it's due to wanting you to find specific dialogue options. Um, when I got the fourth party member, I got her this morning actually. That puts closer to where I'm at, and I went back to camp, and they all have like little like exclamation point bubbles, like "Oh, I have new information," whatever. And I would go through until I got the default kind of basic ones that are always there. I backed out of the conversation. Surprised she had new speech bubble above her, so I went back in. She had something new then, and then I went back to the defaults, and then I backed out, and then she had another one. It's like it forced you to repeatedly talk to them, leave conversation, reinitiate conversation, instead of naturally kind of melding that into the flow of dialogue, which that really threw me off because I'm a big checkbox guy. If I see like new stuff on a menu, I'm going through it just to clear out the pages, whatever. Like, and doing that, I'm like, huh, this feels a little weird and kind of like forced.
Yeah, I think it definitely depended on what quest you did before and such. Because when I had the quest to like get Yahtzee and then now go talk to her, I didn't talk to her for a while. I went and did a bunch of side quests. Went and talked to her. She joined the party. Same exact thing, but every party member had at least 3 things, and she had 5 or 6 dialogue options. And I was like, "What the heck? Like this is." I was just sitting there clicking, and she just kept talking with those text bubbles. I'd leave and come in. So, it's yeah, definitely not the most fleshed out system, but yeah, it's just something that's there.
For sure, for sure. Something that could have helped with the dialogue, maybe, depending how the
No,
future looks. Depending how the future looks for games. We missed out on this last week already. Busy time. Jumping back into some old news stories, Microsoft, good old everyone's favorite game developer right now, unveiled a new form of AI for the use of video games. This came out February 19th, shortly after they did a big reveal on a new processing chip or something, some actual new form of matter that they're using in computers. Big week for them tech wise. But they introduced Muse, which is the generative AI model for gameplay specifically. Um, Decided to announce generative AI breakthrough published today, including the opportunity to help make older games accessible to future generations, which I feel is probably the biggest upside to this whole thing. But they partnered with Ninja Theory and went back to Bleeding Edge, which I forgot was even a thing, and had this AI machine learning essentially learn all what the game is, how it interacts, how physics work, how gameplay mechanics work, and they rebuilt Bleeding Edge essentially with this AI model where I saw a lot of up in the air thoughts. It's been very divisive. AI still, no matter who you are, is very you're either all for it or highly against it, I feel. And this especially in a time and age where we have seen, we'll talk about later, so many layoffs the past year that we've repeatedly had to bring up the past year, and the possibility of job losses gone to stuff like this. Very divisive opinions, but it's something I feel could be used for good. Like I mentioned in the article they posted on Xbox Wire, they specifically bring up game preservation. Cool, yeah, that stuff's awesome. Um, Cases like helping build assets I could see, but when you start taking the human element out of what art looks like, what characters look like, what story looks like, how dialogue is, you're gonna create a weird in between spot for games where people have that disconnect now and the story's not there and it just doesn't feel real, I feel. So it's an interesting thing for them to bring up now, I feel, especially looking at the overall climate.
yeah, it's interesting because like the whole angle is like we're doing it to empower creators, which is like, all right, whatever. And in that article on Xbox Wire, there's a line, where is that? Let me just read it there. They're talking about Xbox approach to generative AI. It says, as part of this, we have empowered creative leaders here at Xbox to decide on the use of generative AI. So like, all right, right? You're telling your studios you get to choose how and when to use it and implement it. All right. The higher up you go, though, the more likely you're going to want to use that AI. I bet. Um, there. I mean, and it's still just a slippery slope to me. But for Xbox, who has been having backwards compatibility and has had a team doing that for so long, to then have AI do it for them, and there is obviously an education gap here where I'm not aware of fully what that means and how much effort and time goes into making games backwards compatible and whatnot. But it just reads interesting, right? I'm not really positive or negative on it, and it's hard to be negative when they've really found a nice way to market it and say it in a positive way and such. But I just don't think it's something that people who are like us, who watch podcasts and make podcasts about games and like are in the know, I don't think a lot of us are like, yeah, or I think most of us are like, what? This seems tone deaf in a lot of ways. So we'll see. I know it's a big buzzword, AI, and reading the article though, it does seem like it's not just cash grabby, right? I mean, AI games have used AI forever. Pong, like, it's just artificial intelligence. It's just the code knows that the pong ball hits the thing and goes back. That's AI to some level, very rudimentary. So it's just when it's at the cost of human creative work, that's the big issue. So is this going to step on that? I don't know, and that's where it just is unsure. So I'm not really even sure what the benefit is of using Muse, being able to recreate Bleeding Edge or other games just by AI code. I just don't get what the draw of that is, right? Um, I could just imagine in my head a game like Elden Ring right now, and I'm doing really cool, right? Like you can always just start talking away, like, well, this makes it or yeah, but it's really cool that someone made this game as opposed to they put an input and a thing made it for them based off other people's work. I don't know. It's a slippery slope,
The way when I see the line about game preservation and stuff like that, in my head, the way I can see corporate looking at it is a way of, hey, this is early stages, obviously. This isn't some finalized thing. But 10 years from now, hypothetically, you run a playthrough or something of Black on original Xbox through this AI system, and it's able to sort of natively bring it up to being playable on current gen hardware type thing, whether that be through cloud streaming, whether it be its own kind of download. And they're thinking that far along that, yeah, the little nicks and stuff will be ironed out of what this is and not as glaringly obvious. But even then, you get to, cool, you do that. How does that translate with voice recordings? Does that say the same? Is that just brought up as audio files? Um, is it something that they're going to have to assist it with rebuilding, similar to, excuse me, when they did the Kingdom Hearts remasters? The original files for Kingdom Hearts were completely lost in, like, they did not have save stuff, so they had to rebuild that game almost entirely for the remasters on PS3 going forward. If you had the original gameplay of it though to run through AI, would it be able to rebuild that sort of core framework to work off of? Like you said, I'm not smart enough for this. I don't understand my PC half the time, but it's 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 buzzwords hype, right? Like this is the type of stuff they know they're gonna drop an article. It's gonna get a lot of news about it, good or not, but it gets the people who are interested in this, it gets their nose in the door, gets their foot in the door. They want to be a part of this. People want to come help with a project. Like this could be, I don't see this happening, but I see this being this generation's HoloLens. If you remember that. When HoloLens was supposed to be the next big thing, hey, we're doing augmented reality, this is how things are going to be. And a couple years down the line, it's just kind of gone and we forgot about it. But it was cool when it was happening, right?
Yeah, we never got it though. I mean, the army got it. um, but other stuff. Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, yeah, to say two things. It's for games that are being lost to time, we can preserve them. Or I just want to read this. Another opportunity we are exploring is how Muse can help game teams prototype new gameplay experiences during the creative process and introduce new content, making games players already love and enabling our developers to inject new experiences for them to enjoy, or even enable you to participate in the creation process. Yeah. See, so like, hey, let's prototype something quickly, but also introduce new content. And that's just like, it's slippery. So, hey, we really struggled with Halo. We gave you Halo Infinite and we didn't have, oh man, we really struggled. If we could just type in Halo gun, make thank you, and then you get new gun skin. Yeah, we would have done that with AI. So it's a slippery slope, you know, just if it's bad and not good, you just got to call it out and keep them honest. But you know, there's still too early to know for sure on all this, but I thought that line was very, very interesting there in the article.
For sure. If you are listening at home, watching this on YouTube later on, let us know what you think of AI down below in the comments. Want to hear other people's opinions? Obviously, this is it's a discussion between two people, but this is going to be something that could potentially affect thousands of people in this space. Let us know what you think down below. As far as affecting people, we don't need AI to be doing that, as we've seen the past year, and it got worse this year with Warner Brothers Games stepping up to the plate to, hey, you thought 2025 was bad? Hold my beer. This was very recent this past week. I think, I believe third Monday it started this past Monday. Warner Brothers Games announced they are shutting down 3 entire studios, including the Wonder Woman game that was announced by Monolith 3 Game Awards ago is now officially canceled as well. But Monolith Productions, in charge of Fear, Condemned, No One Lives Forever, and most notably / recently the Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor / war games, gone. Player First Games, who have spent the past 6 years working on Multiverses, which has gone through a beta to, hey, we're shutting down for a year to come back for beta number 2 to, hey, we're closing down in 4 months to, now our studio's closed. And Warner Brothers San Diego, which was a fairly recent team, but they were reportedly working on free-to-play AAA games. Wonder Woman game has supposedly already burned through $100 million in development over 4 years after being restarted earlier last year. Warner Brothers says they're now shifting focus to their key franchises like Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. Which I get, but why did you have to just cripple everybody in the process of that? When you could have Monolith work on a DC game. You could have San Diego, whatever they're doing, free-to-play stuff. They could be an overall DC game or Harry Potter game or something. There's rumors I remember last year of Warner Brothers potentially wanting to sell off their gaming division as a whole. I wonder if this still is leading to that eventually. Get rid of some extra assets, makes it more appealing to buyers. But to wake up on a Monday morning and just have literally thousands of people gone. Studios, well-regarded studios, Monolith has been around for forever. Just gone, cut from the cloth. Kind of a shitty way to start the week. And obviously we're both kind of funny fans. Going from the podcast episode you mentioned last week where Greg was interviewing Matt Piscatella about industry layoffs and stuff and where the industry's going, to 3 days later waking up to this. Like, that cuts. That hurts.
Yeah, industry is still going to be the industry, right? It's still going to do it. Yeah, there's a lot to this, right? On the paper, right? On paper, yeah, Monolith. I mean, what man? That studio created some of two of my favorite games. I don't think we have talked too much about the Middle Earth games, the Shadow games, Mordor and War. But man, those are like probably two of the first. That was like the first game series that I was aware of what I'm doing with gaming. I'm like buying games. I'm paying attention to E3, and I remember Shadow of Mordor. Like, oh, what? Like, they're making a Lord of the Rings game. Like, that's awesome. I remember for Middle Earth, you know, the Battlefront style Lord of the Rings game. I was like, oh shoot, we're getting a Lord of the Rings game, and like it was good.
Conquest.
And
Conquest slapped.
yeah, Conquest. Yeah, Conquest, and you're like on Helm's Deep and stuff. Oh, such a good time. So like I just like it was cool. So that series just is awesome. I always see it in my bot games, and I'm like, oh man, I should like replay these at some point. Because the Nemesis system is amazing. Like that system within that game is so damn good, and it's just so sad that something like that in a studio like that made such a unique game system and innovative game system. They just that's it. That's the system, and it's gone. They made 2 games, and that's it. As part of all this, Jason Schreier, who's breaking the news for most of this, I pointed out that after they made the Middle Earth series, they wanted to make a new IP. That game eventually gets canceled by Warner Brothers, so that original leadership team completely left. So the team, like the leadership team behind the Mordor games, the Shadow of War games, they weren't even there anymore. So they started ground up from Wonder Woman. But the studio had so much turmoil, anyways. They just went almost a decade without releasing a game, right? Like that's just so much went wrong. And it all ends up back on the guy at Warner Brothers Games who's in charge of it all, right? It's that's what it comes down to. It's bad management, bad leadership. You couldn't get anything productive going that was worthwhile to keep stuff and people busy, and now yeah, a studio that is known for something really, really awesome and something that I love is now gone. And that Nemesis system is trademarked, copyrighted, or it's like locked up by Warner Brothers. Sad. That's sad.
It's interesting reading what's come out of it and their talk of it of, oh, we want to focus on core IP and these core franchises, which obviously Harry Potter, Hogwarts Legacy did numbers when that came out, no matter despite the news around it and that IP in general. That was a money generating machine because it gave that fan base something that they have not had yet. I was one of them. I 100% of that game. I loved that game. Like, it was great. Had a great time. But you look at what Warner Brothers looks like now after these cuts, it almost feels impossible for them to reach those levels of wanting to focus on those major IPs. What they're left with now is Avalanche Software, who did Disney Infinity and Hogwarts Legacy now. We just assume they're working Hogwarts Legacy 2 with all the rumors. NetherRealm Studios, which are in a weird place, I would say. Mortal Kombat 1 did not really hit as much as people wanted it to. There was stuff that came out about that it was originally supposed to be Injustice 3, which is why they introduced the cameo system, which was originally supposed to be like sidekicks to the superheroes jumping in and helping you fight. And they changed course on that because they thought Mortal Kombat would be more recognizable at that point. But that's failed to reach a lot of player numbers. They've also canceled further DLC for it after lackluster sales of the first expansion pass. Rocksteady Studios is still there, which working on a new Batman game, apparently, after Suicide Squad did its thing, which is all people wanted to begin with. And TT Games doing their Lego stuff, which I would argue is probably the biggest moneymaker for them right now, because Lego games do absolute bank. And then they have 3 support studios in Montreal, Boston, and New York. You don't really have a lot of free hands to work on a Game of Thrones thing. You don't have a lot of hands to work on another Mortal Kombat thing if you want them to do Injustice. Like, you say these things, what you want to focus on, but the math ain't mathin'. The people physically aren't there to do this when you take out one of your own knees and want to hobble forward and try and make something of the mess you've put yourself in over the past couple of years as far as development goes.
Yeah, well, with the DC property, I'd imagine they do what Marvel is doing when they just will outside of Rocksteady, but they'll just, hey, you have an idea for a game with one of our IP? What is it? All right, that sounds cool. Here you go. Pay us. You know, they'll just sell their IP off, and no, that's not the right word to use. License it out. That's better. That makes more sense to me. Game of Thrones has some mobile game coming out that confused me at first because I thought it wasn't mobile, and then it started looking like mobile. So they're doing something with the IP. It would be nice to see them do. I just don't know what type of game you would do with Game of Thrones. Like, I just don't know. Like, the world is pretty set, the narrative's pretty set. I just don't know what you're doing in that type of game if it's not following what's done there. So there's studios who can figure it out. But to bank on that property, that IP seems wild to me as your big four. Like, the first two I named are, in my opinion, not the strongest, just in the current state of where they're at, right? Not saying that they can't be. DC, I think, was and can still be really, really strong. They once was. Game of Thrones once was. I just don't think they're there now. And yeah, that's just, I don't know, maybe it's just further shining and where a light on where Warner Brothers is right now. But going back to Mortal Kombat NetherRealm, like, it doesn't surprise me that this one isn't doing as well. I feel like that isn't cause for concern unless behind the scenes, yeah, you're saying that it was a different game and then they scrapped that and went something else. It's like, ooh, that didn't work either. If that type of turmoil is going on, then yeah, something that doesn't sell as well is going to be a bigger issue than if it was like the plan from the beginning. It's like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff going on if you're wrapping things like that and switching it up, I think. Overall, I just think it's just in a shitty spot. It's down to management. They just need to get consistent there and just treat people right.
Yeah. No, and it's the Mortal Kombat thing, just to clear it, a lot of that it comes from mostly Fighting Game Insiders, but where I got my stuff from was Maximilian Dude on YouTube. Big in the fighting game community, worked on Killer Instinct before, like prominent name in the scene. And he did a video talking about it and documents the stuff they got of that the cameo system, like I mentioned, in Mortal Kombat 1, if you haven't played, they randomly gave you a second cast of characters, which are mostly like reskins of characters in the game that are based off their MK1, 2, 3 appearances. And they're just kind of an assist where they hop in, shoot a projectile, hop in, teleport you around, hop in, do whatever. And that was, according to them, was supposed to be, like I said, sidekicks. So you would have Batman, you could pick Robin, or you could pick Kid Flash or something, and they would come out and do something to help you in the battle. But then, whatever the DC license was, I don't know if it was tied to the movies at the time not doing good. But then, yeah, they were given the case to switch to a Mortal Kombat thing, which makes sense when you look at Mortal Kombat 1, and it was essentially a fresh restart of the series. Hey, this is a brand new universe of characters, same name people, very different roles. This is the beginning of everything. We're not carrying along any storylines. We're not building on any storylines. This is a hard reset of what MK is, which to me feels kind of like a last minute idea you do to get a story thrown together when you don't want to build upon the last two games you've done, but you just rather hard reset everything, call it good. So yeah, it's weird. I'm curious to see what they do next.
Yeah, you brought up like the selling aspect of this, right? And I know there's rumors of for a while that Warner Brothers wanted to sell some of their games division, but they didn't want to sell the IP with it. So hey, that at least that was a rumor. I don't know how corroborated that was off the top of my head.
Yep.
But I know like, hey, NetherRealm up for sale, but not Mortal Kombat, not Injustice, right? So at that point, yeah, that's kind of weird. Would deter people from selling. Now all this happens. Do you think they're more likely to sell this stuff? Because to me, it's more likely that they're just going to license their IP out. I think that's the move here, is get to shed the studio weight. Rocksteady probably has a solid idea. And I think the system is still good. The game engine they have, the fighting mechanics are still good, right? It just needs to be a Batman focused game. So it makes sense to keep that with other studios. Not surprised. But yeah, what do you think about? Think someone's actually would actually buy these studios?
I don't know, because it's weird, because when those rumors were happening, it was tied together with when Xbox was on their buying spree around Bethesda time, and everyone was like, "Oh, Warner Brothers is going to be next for X, Y, and Z reason." I don't know. I would be okay with them doing the licensing out. The only reason I said sell, it goes back to It might have been Jason Schreier last year with the reports on Ubisoft, and that was part of the reason of them closing XDefiant and them closing studios last year was to make themselves look more, whatever word I'm looking for, generous as far as buying offers would go. Hey, we trim some of the fat that you wouldn't have to pay for. We cut off some of the excess to make us appealing to buyers. That's where I got that from. I would be down for their licensing though. Like I I feel they'd be almost worried to do it as far as full on copying Marvel. Because hey, it's Insomniac, you're getting the Flash IP. Whoever's getting a Wonder Woman thing, like differing those from other superhero games and making those stand out, I feel would be kind of hard. Um, with Marvel, just the amount of stuff they have, Spider-Man, Wolverine, we have 2 Black Panther games coming out. There's Blade coming out. Like I feel like it would be almost superhero surplus as far as games go. So it's a weird spot if they would want to chase that or not, but I
Yeah,
don't.
I mean, games do take a little bit, but
Yeah,
I do hear you on that. Like, I don't think we see PC games for for a while, and especially with James Gunn wanting to tie not necessarily the universe together, but have them at least work in tandem. You know, I I think we might be, and especially with this shedding of weight of studios, it might be a part of that strategy there where, hey, we don't have plans for this Wonder Woman game. You made Gal Gadot game, and that's awesome. It's fun, but you guys still need more time. We way over budget, and we're not in this universe anymore. So it's time to axe it. Like that. That's not surprising, unfortunately, but yeah, everything else is going to take some time. So
yeah.
would we have superhero fatigue? Probably. Just like these movies where, it's just everything is superheroes now. But if it's a good game, if it's a good movie, good story, we'll show up and do it. So I think that's more of the issue here is who cares how much is going on? Just make a good ass game that actually makes sense. I feel like an Arrow game would go pretty hard. Especially if you made it like a League of Assassins. Why doesn't Batman and Green Arrow ever work together? I know they're like the same type of character, but different. They're like different types of rich and trauma. At least I only know the CW version of Arrow.
It would go hard. I agree with you, but I think marketing that would be hard. Like that'd be like them kind of be like, "Hey, you got a Hawkeye
Okay,
game."
but listen to me. You get Batman, you get Arrow, you get like not Deathstroke. Yeah, Deathstroke. Yeah, he's helping. And then you get like Robin, and they're all like working together at night in Gotham. And like we can call it like Night Goth or like Gotham Knights or something. That could be cool, and you could play as either of those 4 characters. I think that would be a good idea.
It'd be great.
I'm gonna look into that.
One last thing on this before I move on. Just put in standards because Mortal Kombat kind of became the topic there. Um, the last game, Mortal Kombat 11, came out in 2019. By 2022, it was over 15 million copies sold. Mortal Kombat 1 so far, after releasing in 2023, so almost 2 years now, just broke 5 million. So it's running 10 million units behind so far with 2 years to go. So,
I bet everyone's waiting for the Switch 2 because it's on Switch 1, but I'm just gonna wait for the Switch 2 so I can play Mortal Kombat 1.
yeah, switch my Mortal Kombat platform.
Yeah. Those numbers are crazy. That is a steep drop off where very different. Oh.
Best of luck to everyone over at Warner Brothers who did get affected by this. Again, I will say what I said last time. I hope with the amount of layoffs happening that we just get more cool new studios built up from those people that kind of have their own free will and be able to do their own ideas moving forward. Because there's plenty of people to choose from to make your own studio and make your own game. Much like many people with their new games on Steam Next Fest are doing right now. That Kyle, thankfully, has played. Spent some time this past week playing and streaming. I hopped in your stream a little bit there. Some interesting titles this year. You got a decent handful on a few of them.
Yeah. There's Steam Next Fest. They always do this with a couple times a year highlight indie studios that put out demos and just kind of a week long event. where you just go on Steam and you can download a bunch of demos for games that are really fun. I don't know off my head what games have been a part of Steam Next Fest, but there are some great titles in there. I'll start off talking about Wheel World as you pull up Despelote. Sorry, they didn't. I didn't post the video for Wheel World because my computer was just not running it well and it was framey. So I didn't want that to be like what people see of the game and think of the game, because even though I was getting 15 to 20 frames riding my little bike around in Wheel World, it was fun. The vibes were there. You are a person who has a bike who needs to go ferry people, but basically you're just ferrying people between the world on a ghost bike essentially, but you have to race people. I haven't got, like, the demo was not that point, but that sounds like what they're setting up. Didn't think of that. But you are riding around this nice little cell shaded environment, and it's just about riding and racing each other. And you only did one race in the demo. That's all they have, but it felt good. It felt nice. I could see, like, this is a vibe game that is going to be chill to ride around, explore, but at the same time going to have some fun little races. And when you're riding your bike, you got to draft behind people, and that gives you a boost, and you're upgrading your wheels, your gears on the bike, the handlebars. So there's some customization and that can determine how your bike behaves and such. So it's definitely an interesting game. Going to keep my eye out on it for sure, because it looks chill. And right away, I mean, the vibes, like I keep repeating, the vibes are there in this game. So fun time for sure.
It was at something we watched last year. Was it an Xbox ID showcase? I think it was.
Well, it was something. It definitely showed up at some show.
Yeah, which it caught our eye because it was weird, goofy. They were riding a hot dog at one point, like just weird stuff going on. With your little time in it, you said mostly races. Did you see anything for other game modes? Because when you say you're like ferrying people around on a ghost bike, my head immediately jumps to Crazy Taxi type thing, and not a
Definitely
racer.
No. How the demo worked out was you gotta like walk around and you find the bike and you meet them and then you talk and they're like, all right, we gotta go light the bell or ring the bell, and it's a giant bike bell, which is funny. It's like the shrine bell shine, I think it's called in the game.
Perfect.
Don't quote me on these things. Yeah, and it's a giant bike bell. But you're like riding around the world, and you come up to the hill and it's blocked off, and the Lunardo boys, I think they're called, if I'm remembering, they were like, you can't come up, you have to have more rep, your rep's too low. So there's a rep system. As you go around racing, collecting parts, your reputation goes up, and that'll unlock more areas of the map for you, more routes to continue on, I presume here. But you had to go ride down to the beach, tell them, go back, we got a race. And then it was just a race with those boys around the thing. So very simple demo. I'm not sure what else is going to be there. I imagine it's more of an open worldy, open zone area, maybe more linear open path zone type. You're going to be able to most likely choose around and go do these races with people around the world to up your rep to then continue on and fix your bike. I think the key here is your bike was broken and you got to replace it and fix it all up for them. But yeah, I don't think it's a Crazy Taxi vibe at all.
Damn. Would have been cool.
It might get there, yeah. I was surprised by the little soul thing. I was like, oh, that's why it used to be called Ghost Bike. That makes sense, because it used to be called Ghost Bike. But yeah, no, you're just in the wheel world, which is, it's hard to say. Every time I go, I'm like, wheel world.
The wheel world.
The wheel world bike game. Yeah, that's a fun one. Keep an eye out on that. Published by Annapurna. I forget the developer, and I don't have that one up, so sorry about that.
Which,
but yeah,
shout out to
I'll go for
Annapurna doing a kind of comeback from last year when we covered. They had their leadership changes. This was obviously one that was established before then, but still coming out with the weird, unique, quirky stuff after they had their weird turnaround. Wheel World is done by Messhoff Games.
That's what it was, yes.
Nidhogg people. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I only know Nidhogg from people's streams and such, but I was like, it's a very different game than what Wheel World is, just like on vibes alone. Very, very different. But yeah, and then I played another one. This is a smaller little game here. This one's called Despolote. And I saw that someone like tweeted this, or I think it was on Blue Sky actually. Someone posted it and was like, "Man, this opening's so fun." I remember I remember watching the game they're talking or being or live around this time, and I was like, or something, and I was like, "What the heck?" Looked into it, I was like, "Oh, what a fun little game." The tagline on their on the Steam page is a slice of life adventure about childhood and the magical grip soccer held over the people of Quito, Ecuador in 2001. And it's just has a lot of charm to it. It is just a nice little story game, but it's all around soccer. And everyone in Ecuador, everyone's just into soccer because it's just what is going on. The team's finally good. And you're what I presume are the kid, and the demo, you're like in school and you're running around and you're waiting for recess, and you go out to recess and you're kicking the ball back and forth. But there's just something special about it. The art style, this really noisy, like sepia style for everything outside of the people and the text and the things you interact with being the stark black and white. There's just something to it that I love. And the demo starts at least. You're playing this 2D soccer game that was on stream earlier. And then it zooms out and you're playing a game, and it's like, I love stuff like that. I don't know. There's just something really cool about this. There's definitely some story going on, and it's developed by two people, Julian Cordero and Sebastian Valbuena, published by Panic. And the character's name is Julian, so I'm assuming it's probably about his little story. There's probably something going on here. I expect this to probably break hearts in some ways. It's probably has something tragic going to happen, but hopefully not. Hopefully it's just a nice, good story about how soccer and sports can really help not just people, but like a whole country, right? Like sports are awesome and community events are awesome, but such a fun little game. Go give it a try. It's a cute demo for sure. But you're just running around kicking a soccer ball, and it controls odd. But once you figure out what it's doing, it's a fun game. I found a lot of charm into it, and yeah, you get to eat food as well.
Perfect.
I don't know. There's something to it.
Yeah, this one out of all of them, when I tuned in, this, like you said, the art style is like, it's noisy, but there's something obviously eye catching about it, but it brings you towards it more than just if they were done in like a hand drawn thing. Like, it wants your attention more, it wants you focusing in on things more. It's an eye catching game, and I love it. I doubt more games would do something like that because it's a choice, but it's very visually eye catching.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't really mention too much about the music, but the music's there. Like, it's not in your face, but it definitely fits the vibe and sets the ambiance very, very well. So excited to see how that plays, because hey, I grew up in Southern California, America. So many other countries. There's so many countries in the world that have such awesome, unique music, and it's so cool when that gets to be highlighted in games. So I expect there to be some of that within this game that's not set in the US.
Perfect.
But yeah, the last one that I streamed and played, a game coming from developer Strange Scaffold, over there, and they were published also by Frosty Pop. This one. Maybe you have heard of this series before. You probably haven't because it's not a series. But this is Creepy Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 3. This is if you don't know anything about Strange Scaffold, they earn that title well. They just make a lot of weird, interesting, creepy games. Not creepy and like spooky games, more of just like, what the hell is going on? Click holding is such a gem to watch people play through. It's very interesting and such. But they're coming out with games all the time. Their turnover rate is incredible. They also have, I haven't played it, which I should have prioritized. But they also have a Ninja Turtles game demo out as well, and they have that coming out later this year. So they got multiple games in the pipeline. But this one is a match 3 game where you play as what's his name? You play as JJ something,
Hardwell.
and you're just Hardwell, and yeah, you're investigating some stuff going on, and it's just a simple match 3 game, right? Some fun mechanics within that, where you'll have like things to actions to perform you have to use gems to perform those actions. So if you're trying to heal yourself, it would be like 4 red gems. So you would have to prioritize getting those red gems, and you'd be able to buy that, and that would use your turn or whatnot, back and forth there. But I mean, it's beyond just a match 3 game, because the demo, you get to a point where your character is aware they're in a video game, and now you got to hunt for bugs, and that's going to be what the game gets into, and I love that. So I was surprised that the match 3 mechanics were as honestly fun as they were. They were not doing anything super crazy and out of the way, whoa, like so innovative, but they're doing enough where it's engaging and it's fun. And then there's some nice little narrative things where it's like, what's going on? And the writing is humorous. It's not dry. It's not, I don't know, I don't think it's cringy. I truly enjoyed my time with this way more than I thought I would, knowing like it's a match 3 game. I love those. Those are fun. And I always download, play, turn them off, and then uninstall from the phone. It's a good time for a little bit. But this one had some juice behind it. So fun little demo here. I like the twist. Was surprised with the twist. I see the replayability now, and they didn't get to any of the, I guess, wall breaking stuff, right? Like game breaking stuff, or what's going on in here. But just the idea of what he's doing, where you are now going back and hunting bugs in the game code, and that's what this match 3 game is going to be focusing on and turning into, and that's the challenges. That's interesting. What a fun little thing there.
It's refreshing to hear that it is, because this one of the 3, when I saw you playing, I was like, oh, it's a match 3. This is going to be a okay thing. Like you said, it branches out into weird stuff. There's here you shop items, like there's dialogue trees and options behind it. Like it does more to flesh itself out as a full-blown story, which I feel with match 3s do kind of have a weird connotation of mobile things and gotcha games and stuff like that. So having well thought out twist put behind it, good to see. Good to see. Also, this isn't the 3rd game in a series. I hear that right?
Yeah, no, it's a fictional series. So
Perfect.
the character, yeah, you're like aware that someone named Jack Breyer went to these mansions that had creepy redneck dinosaurs in them, and there's 1 and 2, and now they're back for a 3rd. It's just weird. It's something that let me get the exact thing here, because like in the full description, the last, like, what is this about this game? What is it? It's committing to the bit. And this game is about committing to the bit hard that it hurts. So that's 100% what they do. They're committing to a bit here. And what is this game? It's a 3rd game in a series that isn't out. It's a fictional game series that's match 3, and it's a game about a game breaking the game bug or something. I don't know. It's fun.
Perfect. It's good.
Games are silly and goofy. It's great.
I need to utilize Steam more, just for their demo weekends and stuff. We get emails about them all the time, but just investing in PC, I'm still like, because I did last year when this came up. I remember talking about this last year, and I was on Metal Slug Tactics. I tried out, which is now on Game Pass. I'm like, that was a great thing that I wish I would go back to, but just the PC element kind of sways me off.
For sure. But that's why like a lot of these indie games are like super small and not that intensive on stuff. So there's definitely, you can find those type of games and play them for sure. But even a game like Wheel World, I was surprised. I was like, oh yeah, I don't think my PC can do this. And maybe I was streaming. I haven't gone back, but I doubt it was also because I'm streaming. Yeah, it wasn't until we started doing this podcast that I actually started doing the demos and done some cool stuff.
I'm glad. I wish I had other games to bring up myself to help close this off, but outside of Avowed, I've been playing some Connect games this week. Oh yeah, go ahead. We don't want to hear about Connect games.
I did see you were playing a Connect game, and I was not upset at you. I said, hell yeah.
I love that
Hell
little
yeah.
thing.
So one last game I saw on the demo that I played like 10 minutes of, and it was too late. I shouldn't have been trying to play games. But this is called Rift. It is jump a rift, pick your towers, and fight off enemies in this strategically tight tower defense game. And yeah, it's a tower defense game. You're like putting up things, people go for you, they're trying to attack you. I like the art style. Like reminds me, I don't know, this little art style, and I love a good tower defense game. So did not play enough of it to like give you much about it, but I love a good tower defense game, and that is one other one I downloaded that I just wanted to shout out there. And if you like those type of games, go pick it out because it does look like a lot of fun, and I love good tower defense games.
I mean, I told you about a good tower defense game last year, and you blew me off. Nitsugami, Kyle. It's right there.
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say balloons or something.
Go back to balloons. Nah, I'm good here. I'm one of these times I'll get into Steam. I have my first game though. I got Rift of the Necrodancer on there. I have 1 Steam game, 2 Steam games. Got Baldur's Gate. What a library!
That's crazy. I have like 185 because I used to buy like humble bundles, not even play them. So many games on my Steam thing that I don't use that I've never played.
If I tried, my computer beside me would just start on fire, and there would be no more show. There'd be no more nothing. Can't risk it.
Fair. It's fair.
That will do it for us. Episode 59 of the download queue. We'll be back next week with some stuff. Got 2 Point Museum coming out. Can't wait. Do we get Split Fiction next week, or is that week after? Because we got to set that up. That's next week on the 6th. Won't have time to play it, but
I do think it's next week, but who knows? I might be wrong.
it's on the 6th.
Okay.
But we'll have that stuff to talk about. We're talking about doing a Split Fiction playthrough. Still gonna try and set that up if it's possible.
Oh yeah.
Be good. Would be good.
Wait,
Till then, you can find us on the socials all over the place. Kyle the Blue Sky, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. TikTok is there doing stuff, doing shirts, doing reels. Nothing new from me. I did start putting up some short breakouts on the YouTube for the podcast. So if you don't like the long form stuff, shorter option is there. We got our Avowed impressions from last week, as well as our Sea of Thieves talk from last week up already. So go check those out. This week, for sure, the episode will be uploaded tomorrow morning, Monday morning, on all streaming platforms, because Twitch is working and is not screwing me like it did last week. We had a short hiccup. I'm not quite sure what happened. I had to watch this video on YouTube from the podcast last week, Kyle, 4 times, recording it each time to get a usable recording to upload the audio. Because the first time I did,
you gotta start pressing record locally. I trust your computer to be able to do that. Like, I don't think it requires that much more. I think if you just right under OBS, it says start streaming, press start recording.
But then the storage is going to fill up and the storage errors are going to start popping up like they do sometimes. It's bad.
But it should tell you up if you have. Oh, okay, we're gonna have to do some work. Just pull up this OBS stats. It'll tell you how many hours you have until it's full. Then if it's too full, you just delete the videos when you're done.
Come on. That was the thing. Okay, we'll figure that out behind the scenes. We'll catch you all next week. Same place, same time.
We're gonna do it live right now.
Right?
Our
bonus episode.
After show tech support. That honestly is not a bad after show name.
God. See y'all next week. Same time, same place. Peace.
Bye.